The Fast and the Furious stars Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, Jordana Brewster, as well as Michelle Rodriguez. This movie tells the story of Brian O'Connor, an FBI agent who infiltrates a group of criminals involved with street racing. Let me say this right off the bat, this movie is fun. The Fast and the Furious is a good start to the franchise. Let's start talking about the performances. Vin Diesel and Paul Walker are both good as Dominic Toretto and Brian O'Connor. Jordana Brewster is good as Mia. Michelle Rodriguez is good as Letty. The racing scenes are a lot of fun and I love the soundtrack. Overall, The Fast and the Furious isn't my favorite film in the franchise, but it is a good start to the series. The Fast and the Furious gets a B+. Too Fast, Too Furious stars Paul Walker, Tyrese Gibson, Eva Mendes, as well as Ludacris. This movie follows Brian O'Connor, who reunites with a childhood friend to bring down a drug lord. Let me say this right off the bat, this movie is good. Too Fast, Too Furious is a solid sequel to the first Fast and Furious. Let's start talking about the performances. Paul Walker and Tyrese Gibson are both really good as Brian O'Connor and Roman Pierce, and they have good chemistry. Eva Mendes does well in her role. Ludacris is not in the movie much, but he's good for the screen time he has. The movie is well shot, and there's some fun racing scenes. My only flaw with the movie is that the villain is very forgettable. Overall, Too Fast, Too Furious is a fun movie. It's not as good as the first one, but it's not bad either. Too Fast, Too Furious gets a B-. The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift stars Lucas Black, Sung Kang, Bow Wow, as well as Natalie Kelly. This movie tells the story of Sean Boswell, who moves to Tokyo and gets involved in the world of drift racing. Let me say this right off the bat, this movie is a lot of fun. Tokyo Drift is one of the better Fast and Furious movies. Let's start talking about the performances. Lucas Black and Sung Kang are good as Sean Boswell and Han, and they have good chemistry. Bow Wow is entertaining as Twinkie. Natalie Kelly is good as the love interest. The racing scenes are a lot of fun, and I love the soundtrack in this movie. Overall, Tokyo Drift was a huge surprise for me. I could not believe how much I enjoyed this movie. The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift gets a B+. Fast and Furious stars Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, Jordana Brewster, as well as Michelle Rodriguez. This movie follows Dominic Toretto, who teams up with Brian O'Connor to bring down a heroin importer by infiltrating his operation. Let me say this right off the bat, this movie is good. Fast and Furious is a film in the franchise that I feel gets hated on way too much. Let's start talking about the performances. Vin Diesel and Paul Walker are both really good as Dominic Toretto and Brian O'Connor, and it was good to see both of them back. Jordana Brewster is good as Mia. Michelle Rodriguez doesn't have much screen time, but she is good for the screen time she has. There are fun action scenes, and the movie has a good soundtrack. In terms of flaws with the movie, I would say the villain is weak and forgettable, and there are some slow parts. Overall, Fast and Furious is enjoyable. It's still not the best movie of the franchise, but it's not as bad as some make it out to be. Fast and Furious gets a B+.